Hi, everybody, and welcome to another SEMrush webinar. We're excited to be here. We are live with Catherine, Rory, and Adrienne, and absolutely delighted to have you all here. Thank you to the audience for joining us. A little bit of housekeeping to start with. As always, these webinars will be available afterwards, so you can watch them back on YouTube or on the SEMrush site. Absolutely no problem. Number two, I'm sure Catherine will share her slide deck, so you'll be able to look at that afterwards. And number three, if you have any questions for Rory, Catherine, or Adrienne, please do post them in the chat, and we will ask them at the end. And where are you located is the other piece. Anton reminding me that I've forgotten that part. Please do ask your questions after Catherine's presentation. We're going to be talking questions, discussing, digging down into buyer personas, which is a phenomenally interesting topic. Please do tell us where you're located. And we're going to start off with an introduction. Catherine, where are you located and what do you do?
Hi, welcome everybody. So I am Catherine Strachan and I am normally located in Edinburgh, but today I am dialing in from Maine, which is north of Boston, for those of you who don't know. So I am the managing director and owner of Copy House. Copy House is a content marketing agency specializing in technology and fintech. We work with some really great clients and really cover a wide spectrum of services when it comes to content marketing. So I'm really excited to be here today to present to you guys on buyer personas, which is a topic that I'm really passionate about.
Absolutely brilliant. And you're the person who breaks down complex topics into engaging copy, which I love as a we description for you, we being the word that I would use if you were in Scotland, so that was completely misplaced. Delighted. Rory, you're next. You're the audience first SEO methodology person. Beyond that, you work at Symmetrical. Delighted to have you here. Tell us a little bit more.
Yes, hi Jason, and hello everyone. So I'm Rory. I'm marketing director at Symmetrical. I've been in the industry for over 8 years, working with global businesses, B2B and B2C. Passionate about organic marketing, specifically SEO. And yeah, been talking about audience first SEO for a while now, and that's very much an alignment between SEO best practices and understanding and actually implementing persona data to craft better strategies at a keyword level. So yeah, really excited to be here, and yeah, looking forward to the session.
Brilliant. No, I do love that, because as SEOs, we often focus too much on Google, as we were discussing earlier, me being the worst culprit of that. And I love the idea that we're looking at users first, and I think that's where we all need to go. Next is Adrienne, who's got guitars behind her, who doesn't actually play the guitar. This is your first SEMrush webinar, but it's actually, interestingly enough, the 500th for Anton, who's doing the scene shifting behind the scenes, who we will see at the end, who will pop up and give us all a bit of a surprise. And your key phrase that I'm going to come up with is a buyer persona you'll actually use, which strikes me as being incredibly useful.
It is indeed. Yeah, I'm Adrienne, the founder of Best Buyer Persona. And I like to say I'm on a mission to change the way marketers use and create buyer personas. We kind of have, if you're in this industry, you know that sometimes they're kind of crap. And so I'm ready to change the way we build them, change the way we use them, to where everything that we put in them is something that can directly correlate to, SEO, to a piece of content, to a campaign strategy. And so I'm really excited to be here.
That's absolutely wonderful and delightful. So what we're going to, the plan for today, if I may set it out, is Catherine's going to give a presentation that's going to last 20-25 minutes, and then we're going to have questions, conversation with Adrienne and Rory. If you do post your questions, then we will be able to answer them. If you don't, then we'll just have a chat between the three of us, which will still be very interesting. But I think we all agree answering the audience questions is always going to be more interesting for you guys. So we're about ready to get going. Catherine, have you got your screen shared? And can we begin? Oh, and the mystery guest at the end, who I already gave away because I actually said it was going to be Anton. The mystery guest at the end is going to be Anton. This is his 500th webinar, and that's a really great reason for him to pop up and say hello at the end. So stick around for that. That's going to be amazing. Catherine, are we ready to roll with your presentation?
Yes, I believe so. Can you guys see it now?
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Take it away.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. So welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about using buyer personas to build customer-centric and SEO-driven content. So at Coffeehouse, we're really passionate about creating high-quality content, and I definitely believe that that starts with understanding your audience. So today I'm going to take you through some of the basics and explain the relationship between understanding your audience and SEO and how you can incorporate all of this into the content that you create. So I've already been introduced, but I'm Catherine Strachan. I'm Managing Director at Coffeehouse. So Coffeehouse, we're a content marketing agency first and foremost. What we specialize in is creating really high quality content that resonates with audiences. So it's all about creating that conversation between the brand and their audience and making sure that both parties can engage and nurture that relationship. And obviously that relationship is going to start with customer personas and understanding the audience and the kind of content that they need to be able to engage with the brand. So let's perhaps start at the beginning. What are buyer personas? In the most simplest sense, a buyer persona tells you everything essential you need to know about your target audience. They help you understand who you're talking to, what they need to know, what would interest them, and then helps you understand how you can create meaningful content that's gonna spark conversation, that's gonna connect, that's gonna resonate, and that's gonna cut through the noise. So I always explain buyer personas a bit like standing in a crowded room. If you're in a crowded room and you're kind of saying, hey, everybody, hey, everybody, hey, everybody, look at me, nobody's going to look at you. But if you say, hey, guy in the red shirt, all the guys wearing red shirts are going to turn around and look at you. So getting that deep level of insight, getting that deep understanding so that it's almost like you're talking to one single person on the other side of that screen is a really effective way to create great content. So what's included in a buyer persona? Quite often I talk to brands and they either don't have them or they only have very top level information about who they're trying to target, especially in B2B. In B2B, it's very easy to say something like, oh, well, we're trying to talk to all brands that use data. Well, that's not very specific when it comes to understanding your audience. So I believe that a user persona needs to go into both the top level, so the demographics, who are they, where do they live, perhaps even give them a name. It doesn't have to be their real name. And then the psychological, deeper things. So what is it that's keeping them awake at night? What are they awake at 3 a.m. so worried about that they're Googling questions? What questions are those, and how can you leverage them in your content? And then how can you position your product to solve that pain point? These deeper psychological elements of what makes a human, I find absolutely fascinating. And that then feeds into, what they want. What do they need from you? What do they need from you that's going to make their life easier? And then also, it should go into behavior. So how do they react? Where do they already spend their time online? Where can you find them? Because if you go to them, creating that relationship is going to be 100 times easier than if you're expecting them to come to you. So why not go out there? Why not engage with them on the social media platform that they're on? Why not engage with them at the conference that they always go to every single year? When you understand who they are, what they need, what they want, and how you can help them, everything else kind of falls into place. So I want to show you an example of kind of what this might look like. So at a top level, you might have things like his name. You might have whether they're male or female, kind of what age they are, if they're married, if they have kids, where they live. You might also have things like their occupation. So are they a head of marketing for a fintech company? What do they do in their day-to-day? You might also have slightly deeper things, like what do they believe in? What do they want to see in the world? So, for example, the desire to make the world a better place and to strive for positive change and disruption that provides genuine value to others. Understanding this deeper level is going to allow you to understand how you can build a deep, meaningful relationship with them online. You might also go into his needs. So what is it that they need? What do they need from you? So for example, maybe he's looking for someone to make his life easier. So services that are good quality that he can trust will be done correctly and on budget. In B2B, it's also important to note that this person may report to somebody else. So they may not be the final decision maker. They might need to go to a CEO or CMO or somebody above them who is going to give that final sign off. And having different buyer personas for each of these people helps you understand the different types of content that they're going to need to be able to make decisions about doing business with you. So why does it matter? Why do you need a buyer persona? So often brands don't have them at all, or they challenge me and say, why do we need them in B2B? Isn't that just for B2C? But I believe that having a buyer persona cuts through the noise because it allows you to create hyper-personalized content that speaks directly to your audience. So it makes them sit up, it makes them listen to you, it makes them go, this person knows exactly what I'm going through and they know how to help me. It also helps you understand the type of content your audience is going to find beneficial and meaningful. So there's no point in creating content that your audience doesn't want. Otherwise, you're just spinning in circles by yourself. It also helps you understand their online behavior. So where do they spend their time? What keywords do they use? What are they looking for when they use those keywords? Which then obviously feeds into search intent as well. So I really believe that good content marketing is really about starting conversations and building relationships. Even if your sales team is massive, you cannot be everywhere at once. You can't have lots and lots and lots of one-on-one conversations. But what you can do is you can create content that helps people at scale, that starts these conversations that are so personalized that it makes it seem like you know them. You know what they want, what they need, what questions they have, and you're providing all of this to them, which then helps you build that relationship and ultimately nurture leads throughout the funnel. Of course, we're at a SEMrush webinar, so how can we not talk about SEO? Understanding your audience feeds into search intent. So search intent is all about understanding the queries that your audience uses when they use search engines like Google. And as Google has gotten better and better and better understanding what people want, search intent has become increasingly important. So it used to be back in the day that you could, get away with all sorts of tricks like keyword stuffing. But today, I really believe that Google is flipping the switch towards becoming more human. So it's moving away from talking to an algorithm and talking to humans. So it can understand what people want, what they're looking for. And your understanding of your audience will only allow you to better cater to search intent and to better position yourself as a brand that understands and that delivers meaningful, valuable content. So to sum up, search intent and all the changes that Google has gone through over the recent years is all about, it comes back to understanding your audience and how they use search queries. And this has become even more important. And I really believe that as Google gets more advanced and as natural language processing becomes more a part of its algorithm, this is going to only increase. The need to understand your audience, the search terms they use, and how you can use those search terms to get in front of them, to deliver meaningful content, is going to become increasingly important. So to me, I see content marketing as building relationships. Content marketing is all about starting conversations, starting lots of interesting, engaging conversations that answer prospects' questions. So, there's nothing worse than your sales team having to field hundreds of the same questions. That's not a good use of their time. What if you could deliver these questions to your audience when and where they need them? So creating content around these questions allows you to deliver that at scale. It also helps you tell an engaging story. So it helps your audience see themselves in your brand, understanding their values and their deeper psychological elements, and then reflecting those back to them helps them relate to you. It helps them see your brand as part of their lives and as part of their story. This also then feeds into showcasing customer-centric examples and use cases. So creating case studies that are hyper-specific, that are hyper-personalized, and that talk directly to your audience, that tell them a story of a problem and how you solved it, and that problem is the exact same problem that they have. How can they then not get in touch with you? And done correctly, it also helps you nurture prospects throughout the funnel. So it helps you lead them down a path where, you know, they start with not knowing who you are, and then by Googling and obviously by leveraging SEO correctly, you get in front of them at that very early stage when they're simply asking questions. And then you can use content to kind of nurture that, to tell them a bit more about yourself, to tell them a bit more about what you can offer them, and ultimately, you know, get them to convert. Supports them on this journey. So I really believe in mapping out this funnel and creating lantern moments that kind of lead them along a path, that tell them what you want them to do next, and get them ultimately to get in touch with you. Done correctly too, it feeds into this bigger picture where you're building brand advocacy and loyalty because you helped somebody through a problem. You gave them the information that they needed at a time that they needed it, and that made all the difference. So how exactly do you go about creating this content? So it may sound great. I mean, everything that I've been talking about may sound wonderful, but how do you actually go about it? For those of you who are first-time listeners or haven't heard this kind of concept before, it may seem really intimidating. But you know, it comes back to building that buyer persona. So the first step really for creating content that connects and resonates and that feeds into search intent is by starting at the beginning. So taking time to sit down and write down everything that you know and believe to be true about your audience. Once you've kind of set this hypothesis, you know, then go out to market and verify it. Do interviews, talk to people, ask questions. Having conversations and listening is one of the best ways that you can understand people and your audience better. Once you have this built, you can then start to identify and understand their pain points. So what is it that they're struggling with? What's the thing that's causing them so much stress that they can't sleep at night? And then what is going to be the dream solution? What's the dream situation? How can you turn that on its head so that it becomes something that is highly effective? I always explain pain points a bit like a headache reliever. You know, if you have a headache, you're going to take a headache reliever today. You're not going to take it tomorrow. You're not going to take it in a week or a month. You're going to take it today. And what happens if you don't leverage that is you become more of a vitamin. How many of us have said, okay, I'm going to take my vitamins next year, or I'm going to take them in the new year, or next month or next quarter, and it just gets pushed down and pushed down and pushed down. But if you become something that is going to solve a problem, that is going to relieve that stress, relieve sleepless nights today, why would you not act on it? Of course you're going to act on it. So understanding these pain points helps you create content that creates a sense of urgency and immediacy and, you know, gets people to act, which is so powerful. It's surprising how many people actually don't think about this, or, you know, don't take the time to identify those pain points. They don't know what their customers' challenges are, or, you know, how they might solve them. Once you have this level of understanding, you can then tailor your strategy to speak to these people. So when we do content marketing strategies, every single piece of content we create is targeted at least one buyer persona. You might have buyer personas who you can target one article towards two if there's enough similarities, but ultimately you need to make sure that everything you create, whether it's a social media post or a long form piece of content, is speaking to that audience. This also is going to feed into your SEO strategy. So it's going to help you choose keywords that are aligned with search intent. So a really great example of this is, say you're speaking to a CTO. The CTO probably already knows what blockchain is, but if you do some basic keyword research, you're going to see right away the question, what is blockchain, has loads and loads and loads of search volume. But that might not be the best keyword for your audience because they might not be Googling it. The people who might be Googling that and looking for what is blockchain maybe people who have just heard of it and are slightly interested but aren't senior level CTOs. So when you understand your audience, you can then understand the keywords that they would use to find information. And you can then create content around that so that every piece of content you create comes back to what they're looking for, what they need, how you can help them. Finally, the last point really is to write as if you're speaking directly to one person. So when I create content, I almost imagine like I'm having a conversation with somebody. There's somebody sitting on the other side of my computer screen. Sometimes I can almost see them, and I am speaking directly to them. I'm telling them what they need to know. I think this gets lost far too often, especially in B2B, because people mistakenly think that they're creating content for the organization at large. But you are never creating content just for an organization. You are creating it for an individual in that organization. It's not the organization that you're going to work with. It's the CMO or the CTO, or, you know, it's one person within that. It may be a group of people, but it's people. And it comes back to being human. And I think B2B content marketing especially has lost this element of humanness. We have forgotten that when we go to work, we are still humans who have emotions and stresses. In fact, I would almost argue that we have more emotions at work. The things that are keeping us awake at night are things related, most of the time, to our careers, to what we've experienced during that day. And we spend most of our life at work. So how can we forget that when we create content in B2B, we are speaking to humans? So creating customer-centric content is really powerful, and there's a lot of really great benefits for doing so. So it allows you to leverage search intent so you can attract your ideal audience. So you're getting high quality traffic, you're getting leads that are correct for your business, that your sales team are happy to get. I mean, one of the biggest complaints most sales teams have about marketing teams is that the leads that they pass over are not relevant. So understanding who your audience is going to help increase the relevancy of the website traffic that you get, especially when it comes to SEO and choosing the right keywords. It's going to help make sure that the leads you pass over are highly relevant. It's also going to help you build meaningful relationships that foster trust and loyalty. It's going to show your audience that you're like them, that you understand them. And that's going to make your sales team job easier. So rather than having to have one-on-one conversations with every single prospect, you know, they can do it at large and at scale. And they can also do it 24/7. I heard a really great quote the other day on LinkedIn that the only salesperson that works 24/7 in your company is your website. And I definitely believe that that is true. Creating this really high quality content also positions you as a trusted industry expert. You know what you're talking about, you know who you're talking to, and you can tell them the things that they want to hear, which obviously builds trust. It also builds momentum, so you can deliver long-term results and get more bang for your buck. There's nothing worse than generating content for content's sake, or content that isn't going to work, or content that doesn't deliver results. And in a crowded marketplace where every single brand almost is delivering content, you need to cut through the noise. You need to speak to your audience. You need to create hyper-personalized content that cuts through the noise, that makes them sit up and makes them listen to you. I believe it's the only way forward. So thank you for joining me for this presentation. We're going to take some questions now, and we'd love to have a little chat around this.
Brilliant stuff. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much, Catherine. I know that was amazing. So from your perspective, Adrian, I mean, I thought that was an incredibly clear explanation of buyer personas, what we can do with them, and how we can leverage all of that into both the content strategy and the SEO strategy more specifically. What were your thoughts, and what would your comments be to add your value to that presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what Catherine has explained so well is that when you create a buyer persona, you don't start with your segments, or you don't start with who are our buyers and let's just try to figure this out in a silo. You really try to say, okay, what problems do we need to solve? What questions are these people asking? How do we actually create some information and pull out data that's going to help our actual customers. And Catherine did a great job of really saying it's not just sitting in a conference room and saying, okay, guys, who's our buyer? And we kind of brainstorm some ideas and we say, well, they, are 28, love the color red, would be Wonder Woman, and, have this job title. It's really about knowing who they are, how they self-identify, and what are their behaviors online. And that's how, if you start with those questions, if you start with like, who really are our people? How do we actually need to reach them? That's how you're going to get a buyer persona in the end that doesn't just sit in a CMO's Google Drive. You actually pull it out and go, okay, we're launching a new campaign, or we've built a new product, we've got a new feature. I work with B2B SaaS, so my brain is always in B2B SaaS mode. How are we going to reach these people? And it's not, you don't have this document that's like, well, she wants to be Catwoman if she could pick her superhero, so now go create content off of that. Like, you just can't. And I laugh, but I mean, I've seen buyer personas that are a page, a slide, and it's literally 28 female, has this job title, which that can be helpful to know, does these things in their free time, drives this kind of car, has a cat, and wants to be this kind of superhero. And while I'm sure that was really fun to sit in a conference room and dream up, it does not help to create any type of campaign material, product launches. And so Catherine did it really well. It's just saying, like, you've got to start with questions. Who are these people? How do they behave? Where are they online? When those answers become your buyer persona, you end up able to use it, and it actually ends up something that's going to directly correlate to SEO strategies, content marketing, anything that you want to create. It becomes useful, and she did a great job of explaining that, I think.
Brilliant. So absolutely perfect, which brings us nicely on to Rory, who is the SEO obsessed person in the group. Applying all this to SEO, I mean, obviously focusing in on Google and what Google can deliver to us in terms of people who are actually interested in our products and services. How do you go about that with a buyer persona?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously SEO is made up of many components, and a big part of SEO is, of course, understanding the search patterns of your potential customers. And if you can basically consider those as more like search journeys, and have a look at identify all of the keywords in which your various buyer personas are searching for at all stages of the funnel. As you're doing that, tag them into dimensions and segments. Itemize them by top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. And you'll know, as Catherine outlined in her presentation, from looking at the SERPs, from looking at Google search results, an understanding of the intent of where that buyer persona is, or that audience is in their search journey, to inform the content that you create. And that's super powerful. Now, obviously, with SEO, that's only one part of the battle. Of course, you've also got to earn backlinks, relevant backlinks, and by doing that, generally you have to craft content that's then going to be shared on sites within the ecosystem or the topical space that your buyer personas are placed. So blockchain, for instance. Now, what I've found really powerful over the years is looking at social media data, for instance. And Adrian's talking about how do you make sure that the data that how do you make sure that the buyer personas you create are actionable? Well, basically, what you need to do is start to look to connect the dots between the data points to craft that content strategy and to craft that digital PR strategy that's going to earn the backlinks, that's going to propel the pages you've created into the top ranking positions. And if you look at something like audience first SEO, which I bang on about, that's about identifying all of the entities that are present in that search journey of your personas and actually analyzing what they talk about on their social profiles, to understand deeper insights into the personas and what content topics resonate with them and their influencer entities, and then seed content with those entities in that ecosystem. And that should, if done correctly and considering your personas throughout, deliver better, higher quality and more relevant backlinks. And ultimately what that will do, more visibility on Google or on Bing. You'll capture more personas in their journey, answer their pain points, their questions, and hopefully, of course, turn them into customers or clients.
Right, brilliant. I mean, what I've heard a lot there is actually going and finding your audience, the personas, in the places they're already hanging out. Catherine, I think kind of you were hinting at that, or actually, sorry, hinting is unfair. You were saying it right out loud.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. If you think of it like a relationship, you would expect it to be a two-way street, right? So it can't be a one-way street where they always have to come to you. If you have a friend who you always have to text to see, you're eventually going to give up, right? But if you are going to them, if you have that two-way dialogue and you're making it super easy for them, so you're creating that relationship, you're not just expecting them to only come to you, then you can build that relationship and you can nurture it and make it much easier for them to engage with your brand. So I think it's actually one of the traps that technology brands tend to fall into, is that they create content that only speaks to themselves and they don't think about where their audience hangs out. And I understand why too, because when you've spent a very long time building a really great product, you just want to talk about all the features, you want to talk about all the what it does, but what they forget is that their audience doesn't actually care about the what. They want to know, does it work? Is it going to solve my problem? Is it going to make my life easier? And I think far too often when content's, especially when it's created internally and there's no external advisor, there's no external support, it becomes a one-sided conversation. It becomes where you're basically talking to yourself and you're not making any effort to go and find them and connect with them. You're expecting them to come to you, which works to a degree, but is not nearly as effective as creating a two-way relationship where you equally engage with your audience as much as you expect them to engage with you.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, so kind of sometimes often we create ourselves as our own persona and end up digging down a hole where we're actually only trying to appeal to ourselves. Adrienne, I mean, you were talking a lot about that. I mean, how do we best move from that introspective approach to a more global approach where we're actually talking to people who are going to be helped by our product?
Yeah, I mean, so I have what I call a four-pronged approach to creating what I titled Best Buyer Personas. So it's not just you sitting in a room with your team saying, okay, who are our personas? Because then you're just creating an echo chamber. You really have to go out and so you say, okay, we're going to do, when I do it, I do 20 interviews. I found that 20 is about a number where you start getting some repeatability, you start finding some familiarity with answers. You're talking to what I like to call your biggest fans, your meh customers, like the guys that are just, fine, and then your worst enemies. You really want to segment and make sure you're talking to all of those different types of customers. You're hearing their words, their language, their problems, their pain points. And I like to narrow it through the job to be done, essentially. So we're really getting a true core value of what are these people trying to do with this product? That's going to prevent you from echoing. So I do interviews, I do surveys where now we've heard from our customers. Let's go and get a broader audience answer and see if that's validated via the survey. Also, just doing a lot of digital intelligence analysis. I use amazing tools like SparkToro, SEMrush, and also Audience that tell me who more detailed are the segments that we're looking at. What are their, where do they hang out online? What media and trusted, who are the people who they are influenced by online? Who are the people they follow? That if I want to Catherine's point with the PR and Roy's, if we're trying to, launch something and we really want to plant these seeds and get backlinks, where do we need to go to do that? What publications are they reading? What people do they look up to and have a tendency to influence them? When you really have those four aspects to gathering data and research, it's more of a 360 approach than sitting down with you, the CMO, and maybe your sales team and going, okay, what is it? Who are we talking to? Because when you're sitting in that kind of echo chamber situation, you're going to end up leaning more towards your insights and the things that are more relevant to you or that you find more important, rather than going and saying, okay, customers, you tell me, best buyers, tell me what's going on with you. Who are you? And that's a great way to eliminate a lot of confirmation bias, echo chamber type situation with your personas.
Brilliant. And well, my next question then is, at what point, or where's the balance between me trying to adapt to my audience and losing my own identity and then losing the brand identity from that? Rory, have you got any ideas on that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Well, firstly, I think Adrian, what you mentioned there was spot on. I actually remember you did an interview for me for one of those tools, the power user of audience,
Yeah.
and I thought it was really, really valuable for hopefully for yourself, but I could see the insights you were getting. Jason, to your point, I think it's really important to make sure that you distinguish the content that you're putting together that's going to be there for educational, informational purposes. That's very much about generally top of funnel, middle of funnel consideration, awareness stage content. Really putting a lot of emphasis into that, thinking about your personas, segmenting that content as we've been discussing, based upon on their pain points and their search journeys. But then also, of course, you do also need to note the more heavily branded stuff that might be more at the decision stage, like pricing pages or case studies or other items that are very much focused on reinforcing why your product, service, brand is better than the competition. I know lots of people here probably have the inbound marketing framework background, and I think that's key. And making sure that you communicate that to other C-levels, decision makers in the process. I know someone, I think in the comments, has mentioned, how do you get the organization to buy in? I think it's about showing them the difference between the two, and actually show them Google and show them the search results if you're thinking specifically about SEO, and say, look, if we want to rank for this keyword or this cluster of keywords in this search journey for the CTO for blockchain, we're not going to rank if we don't have an article or a detailed PDF or content piece that's educating them. And then we can get to the juicy pricing page with the offers and the BOFO deals. But yeah, it's important to distinguish between the two, I think.
Brilliant. Catherine, that brings me to a question about, don't we all try to kind of get to that juicy pricing page, as you said, Rory, far too quickly with our clients, our personas?
Yes, definitely. I mean, if you go right in with bottom of funnel content, it's like asking somebody to marry you on the first date. You can't do that, right? Or it doesn't often work.
Nope.
But what works better is if you nurture that relationship, and if you think of it like a relationship. Few of us would go to a date and ask somebody to marry us right then and there and expect them to say yes. But what we can do is we can ask them on a second date, and they're more likely to say yes. So we lead them along this journey. We create a breadcrumb trail where we can lead them to that pricing page eventually. But it takes touch points. It takes time. You need to nurture and build these relationships. And if you do that, you're going to get much high quality leads, because the ones that are not relevant to you are going to drop out. So if you have a bad first date, they're not going to say yes to the second first date. But if you have a good one, they will. Just like content, when they read that top of funnel piece, if they're the right person, they'll then continue on and maybe read the mid funnel pieces. And then when they've read the mid funnel pieces, maybe they'll give you their email address to download something. And then maybe when your sales team reaches out to ask them if they want a demo or want a call, then maybe they'll say yes. And then you're getting closer, right? And along the way, you are going to lose customers, but that's okay, because the customers that you lose were never meant to be with you. They're going to be the prospects that would have been bad clients or would have been the really cheap clients who couldn't afford your premium pricing, all these things. So I think one thing that we have to remember is when we're dealing with humans, it's all about relationships. It's about building a strong relationship that is going to last and stand the test of time.
Brilliant. Yeah, Kate Toon talks about kind of weeding out the people who are actually not going to be satisfied by your service reasonably early on, in order not to get then the wrong customers who are not happy and end up giving you bad reviews and don't actually suit your company. So aim for the audience who are actually going to be happy with what you're proposing. Now, I was going to ask the Craig Campbell question, but we're going to go with Glenart 101. What were the names of the buyer persona audience tools, which I've now lost the rest of the question? That's for you, Catherine, I think, yeah? Or is it?
I did SparkToro. I'll write them down. Well, that's private jet. SparkToro, Rand Fishkin's tool. Audience with an S is a great tool that I use. SEMrush, obviously those questionnaires now, all of like the detailed SEMrush information that's, once you get in there and you start digging, is great. And then I think those are the ones I mentioned. I can't remember if I have another one. Yeah. Rory, did I leave
I
one?
was just going to say, no, that's spot on. And I think, my take on it is think keyword first. I say audience first, but get your keywords in order, because that is the foundational elements of an SEO strategy. But then what you can then do using SEMrush and of course Ads Planner. And then my recommendation there would be look at the search results. If you've got a ranking tracking solution, brilliant. Use that, identify all the top websites, find their Twitter profiles for your keyword segments that are, they'll vary for different personas, most likely, and those are the search journey groupings. And then upload their Twitter accounts into SparkToro, into audience, and then you can generate these. It expands out the ecosystem, but keeps it tightly relevant still. So you can find tons of new information about the behaviors, interests, everything to the persona at a keyword level, which is phenomenally powerful, and it means that it's usable, which I think Adrian was talking, and Catherine, about making sure that they are usable and it's tightly focused. Like in a market research firm, the methodology of recruitment, i.e. who you bring into the interview process, is really important. Well, we're talking about the digital space. So if you do the right approach using those tools, it's very, very powerful, I found.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, that brings me to another question, which is kind of, you were saying each persona is going to have a different kind of content need. Adrian, doesn't that end up meaning that you have to create far too much content and it becomes overwhelming, and you kind of think, I can't actually do all of this?
Yeah, so this is why I focus my buyer personas through the lens of the job to be done. That will eliminate a lot of unnecessary personas. So when I start working with people and they're like, well, we have 12 buyer personas. Quickly, I'm like, no, you don't. We just don't. You're not creating 12 different campaigns. We're not going to create 12 different buyer journeys. So if I can look through the lens of the job to be done, what is the little thing that these people need to accomplish? And it really is something simple. Know your audience. Fly a plane, get to a location, and then we realize the benefits via those that job. If they've accomplished the job, what are the benefits they receive? That then becomes a piece of how I filter through the content strategy. So, you go back to Rory's point where we're like, okay, now we've got the audience, we know the influencers, we can see the journey that they're going to be on. We know what pieces of content are going to actually help them visualize the benefits. It will eliminate trying to create a whole lot of mess. It becomes complicated. I've seen situations where your salespeople have buyer personas, your customer success people have buyer personas, your marketing team has buyer personas, your content like everybody doesn't need a buyer persona. We need to kind of rein it in. We need to figure out who the best buyers are, who truly are the people that are going to just love the product, be our fans, not have any issues. Those are the people we want to market to. Other people may come in along the way, but those are the people we want to focus on. And for me, I found that jobs to be done is a great filtering, a great way to really focus who our audience is, and then using all of the tools to then support creates a streamlined content strategy that doesn't get fuddled and muddy and complicated.
Brilliant. And Catherine, then, right, the streamlined content strategy for the personas we've identified, how do I go about making sure that I'm on the right track with that streamlined content strategy?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think so. Once you have these buyer personas, and I try to encourage people to stick to around 3. I mean, and I also kind of tell them that, the more buyer personas you have, the more effort you're going to have to put into it. And, who do you really need, and kind of helping them to prioritize, obviously, given, the jobs to be done and all of the other contexts, but helping them prioritize, who is it that you really want to work with? Who's going to be your best buyers? Who is going to love your product? And who are you going to love working with as well? Because there's going to be some people who you might not want to work with. And, sometimes even having negative customer personas can help, because they can help you identify the people who are not good fits for you, especially if you have a tricky market where it might be hard to identify at first, or you're onboarding new salespeople, or you need help differentiating. And then once you have these buyer personas, so normally during this process, especially when we do it, because we always think through the lens of content, we've already got a million ideas by the time that we've kind of created these, because we've seen their pain points. We've seen what they're going to consider as meaningful content. We've seen the search terms that they use, and it produces so many ideas that, like, you can't really think of buyer personas as done in isolation from the content strategy, because it's really the start of it. So you should come out of it with loads of ideas, and then all you really have to do is to organize them into a funnel approach. So we put everything on the funnel approach, because it's building and nurturing that relationship. So hopefully when you come out of creating the buyer personas, what you then need to do is kind of formalize it and finalize it, but you're not starting the content strategy from scratch because you've already done a lot of research into the type of content that is going to resonate with your audience and that they're going to find meaningful. And then it's just formalizing and finalizing.
Brilliant stuff. No, that's I realize that, and one thing I'm intrigued by, there are a couple of questions I now have. Number one is the negative persona. I love that idea. I mean, who would like to pick up on that? Because I don't think we talk about it enough. It's who don't we want? I love that.
I don't mind. So I have as a piece of my slide, and one of my slides in my regular kind of buyer personas is the anti-persona. I don't spend a whole lot of time on it because if you've spent that much time, we all have a set number of hours. So I'm not trying to fully go in and get deep in the weeds on this, but we do want to know who doesn't match, who's not, who do we not want to attract, who are we trying not to repel? And sometimes that's really clear and really easy, and those become what I call like your biggest enemies. Who are they? And like, how can we not have them buy from us?
Brilliant. Okay, well, I think we cannot ignore Craig, who's just pitched up on screen, who has something to tell us.
I have no idea what I'm here to tell you.
Right, weren't you going to ask about fake personas and talk about the... Go ahead.
I wasn't going to tell you anything. I was just trolling in the comments talking about fake personas.
Right. Okay, so Craig Campbell is the mystery guest who has absolutely no function and no role in the entire webinar, but he looks so pretty that we just couldn't refuse him time on screen.
Yeah. Anton says, do you want to jump on, mystery guest? And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Do I need to say anything? What we're doing?
Oh, another one. Dr. Addison Zhang, how welcome. I'm sure you have something to say.
Surprise, yeah. So great to see everyone.
Oh, it's all becoming a bit of a love-in from all the wonderful people that have been on the SEMrush webinars over the last few years, and Anton, who's been running this for what is it, 5 years, 500 webinars. Astonishing achievement. Anton Schulke, the king of webinars, the live stream guy.
That's what I told him, the king of webinars. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, just we decided with Jason just do something different because we've done 500 webinars, and I always was just behind that. And I said, for a change, can I be in front of it?
You deserve a little airtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem you've created for yourself, Anton, is now you've actually got to talk about personas. And in the world of webinars and live streams, how do you deal with personas in terms of the people you invite onto these webinars? There's a good question for you.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm just mystery guest here. I have no idea about personas, honestly. Yeah.
Right, okay, in that case, so should we get back to Yay Anton from Simon Cox? It's like a party on here. It's going a bit mad. I don't know how many invitees you can actually have on board. We've got Nick Wilsden, who's turned up, Krishna Shekhar and Doc Sheldon. We've got an astonishing number of lovely, delightful friends who are all here to share in the 500th webinar of Anton Schulke, including Addison Zhang. What can you say to Anton as a comment about how wonderful he is?
Yes, I don't know what else I can add. I'm a huge fan of Anton, and I just love how he runs webinars, live streaming, everything. And I just actually watched another interview that Anton just did with someone. Like I have been doing live streaming for quite a few years. I was like taking notes like crazy. I was like, wow, that is a good point. I didn't even realize that. I was taking notes, learning and writing down things. So yeah, I'm just like really honored to have an expert in my network and a friend. Yeah.
Oh, I had something to say as well, which is, Adrienne, this is your first SEMrush webinar. And in fact, I remember my first SEMrush webinar, which ironically was with Anton, who gave me the opportunity because Craig said that he didn't mind if Jason came on, which is about as good as you get. I think you must have got a more enthusiastic reception than, yeah, all right, don't mind.
Yes, it is my first one. It's been great. I'm very excited and honored to be here.
Yeah, Craig, did you actually just not mind, or were you quite enthusiastic about the red shirt? Your sound's off, man.
No, it was all good. Obviously, we spoke in Leeds, and then I think Anton says, like, what do you make of Jason? Do you think he would be good? And I'm like, yeah, sure. But I never over-egg anyone, like, just in case they fail, because there has been a few guys over the years where I've said to Anton, like, they're good, and they've been really bad. So just like, just give them a shot, and try and get away from being blamed if they're bad, because you know what Anton's like. He'll come back, Craig, come on, man, like, what is this? Give me some crap guy or whatever. So I had to play it that way. But you lasted you've been on for the last few years, taking over SEMrush. I was the face of SEMrush at that point and doing all the hosting, and then you came in and stole it off me. So it was the wrong decision. It's all good.
Well, I mean, one really interesting thing is, how many people has Anton given their first chance on a webinar to? I remember you were doing a campaign a few weeks ago on Facebook, is asking people to film themselves as a pitch to get on webinars to get new people. That's brilliant, Anton. It's really generous of you. And Nick Wilston won the competition on Facebook for getting on stage. He did a video of himself, and here he is. The proof is in the pudding. Nick Wilston, you are the pudding.
Am I the pudding on this call? I just called off some vital eBay business to come drop in on this call. Yeah, how is everyone? It's brilliant, isn't it? 500 webinar. It's fantastic, Anton. Yeah, this is a legend in the making.
It's still a long way to 1,000, but well, what can you do? Can't do 1,000 in one go. Yeah, so. Yeah.
Well, it's 2 a week. It's less than 2 years, Anton. So 2023, we'll be doing this exact same thing for 1,000. And I'm fairly sure we're still going to have Craig, Catherine, Adrian, Rory, and the pudding guy, Nick Wilston.
I'm meant to be interviewing with you at some point, Jason. We've been trying to do this now for about 5 years, I think.
That is very true, yeah. On the podcast, I keep bumping into you, and every time I bump into you and say, do you want to do an interview? You say, got something better to do, mate.
Nice words. Yeah, well, I've got the day job. I always do when Anton asks me. When Anton asks me, I do it.
Oh, right. Okay, so I've got to get Anton to ask you, because when I ask anybody, they just say no.
You need to get the right, and I always say yes to Anton. So this is really awkward now, Jason. You've made this really awkward for everyone.
No. Well, okay. Well, you'll be on. Come on the podcast. I'll get Anton to ask you, because Anton is the best, as Alicia says, and Doc Sheldon says Anton the Kingmaker. And in fact, that's kind of true. And my experience was that you gave me my opportunity, and Nick is a lovely pudding indeed. Simon Cox. And I think, Anton, how often do you get it wrong? How often do you get somebody on and you kind of think, it didn't really work out?
Very too many.
Too many.
Yeah, but it's a life. What can you do?
Now I'm going to put you on the spot. Adrian, her first SEMrush webinar, success, failure?
Yeah, and done very, very well. I think this was very, very good webinar.
Thank you.
Oh, that was brilliant. Rory, I saw you for the first time at the one webinar ago for SEMrush. This is what, your second, or have you done multiple ones in between and you've been cheating on me?
No, second SEMrush one. Always good fun. Certainly the best there is out there for our industry, I think. So yeah, well done, Anton. Really, really good achievement. Thank you.
We have more mystery guest, Franco. Very, very welcome.
Hey guys, thought this was an e-commerce webinar. Thanks for adding me, guys. Good to see everyone.
Lovely to see you. I actually don't know you, Franco, so Anton's going to have to talk to you because I've got nothing to say.
We've been on a couple together, Jason. I know you don't remember me.
Oh no! Oh, shame on me.
That's all right. I like being the ghost in the machine. It's okay.
This is why I don't come on the podcast. He forgets about you instantly like that.
Yeah, Nick. The people who've been on, I don't forget. The people I've been on, I have forgotten. Oh dearie me, shame on me.
Quite all right.
So
I usually see Craig on one of these calls and think I'm in the wrong place.
Sorry.
What's that, Jason? Sorry.
Yeah. So I is going to leave us. Bye-bye, I. Thank you for coming along.
Sorry, I have. I'm actually in the middle of a coaching call, but I definitely want to come here, surprise, and tell everyone.
As a mystery guest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a coffee break.
I'm a fan. Yeah,
between your sessions. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. She's actually got a proper job that she needs to go to. Now, Franco, you're going to tell me what your proper job is.
Sure. Bye, Dr. I.
Bye-bye.
I do a lot of server SEO, and we do some schema, and we do a lot of e-commerce SEO as well with Paul Lovell.
And also flying on a small airplane.
Yeah, I'm the flying SEO. So if you see an accident, let's make sure it's not me.
And where are you coming in from?
Nashville. Yeah, Music City.
Nashville, Tennessee,
yes.
with the guitars behind you, Adrian. That makes total sense. But Adrian has guitars behind her, but cannot play one chord.
Can't. It's true.
Where are you, Adrian?
True. I'm in Fort Worth.
Oh, okay, not too far. Yeah.
Yeah. At least, I mean, compared to these guys, yeah, we're not. We're on the same continent. At least.
Great Wonderful. And you're the only one who's got musical instruments. You don't play. Catherine, I know you're a genius at the harp and the flute.
No.
Oh, sorry. I'm confusing you with another Catherine.
Nope, not me. No, I don't have a musical bone in my body, but I can dance.
Oh, don't say that.
Oh, I'm not doing that, but I can dance.
They might ask you to prove it. So.
Oh no.
Brilliant stuff. Anton, have you got any more surprise guests? Because the screen is fairly full, but could still be fuller.
It could still be full, but yeah, maybe not. We'll see. It's a mystery guess. You can't predict it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, in fact, you should have put mystery guests with an S, and then I might have understood. But I think that was part of the trick.
Yeah.
It was put me in a really uncomfortable situation where I've got no idea.
It's impossible to put you in an uncomfortable situation. You've done 80 webinars with us, and probably 80 on some other sites. So I'm pretty sure you can manage.
Are you making a point that you've done 500 and I've only done 80?
Yes.
Is it the number or is it the quality?
Very much putting me in my place. Thank you very much, Anton. That's delightful. I love this kind of stuff. How many people can you fit on this webinar? That was my question, in fact.
10.
I think
10.
Doug...
StreamYard can get up to 10 people on a screen.
Right. So Doug actually asked the question that I was trying to ask, which is, can you add some more people, please, Anton? But he did it much more eloquently than I did.
Who else we got, Anton? Come on. Jerry White. Come on, Nick. Where's Jerry?
Oh, where's Jerry? Do you want me to message him? Yeah.
And I mean, we've got Alicia in the audience. She's in Greece on holiday.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. And we're all terribly
can we
jealous.
join her? Yeah.
Holiday.
How fast can we be there?
Yeah, I guess I spoiled the webinar. So you really had plenty of questions and everything, but well, it wasn't today yet. Sorry, Jason. Sorry, Catherine, about that.
Yeah, Catherine got and Rory and Adrian got a bit of a bum deal there, because I was terribly interested in fictional characters as personas, and you were talking about Wonder Woman earlier on, and I don't think we got you to elaborate on what. There you go. If I were to choose a fictional character for my persona as myself for my own business in that very egocentrical, inward-looking way, I would say Sherlock Holmes. What would you say, Adrienne?
Oh gosh, if I were gonna do the bad approach and choose a fictional character
Yep, that's the bad approach. We agree it's the bad approach, but it's fun.
Okay, it is fun. I would say then, Picky Longstocking, like adventurous, little daring, very inquisitive to an annoying kind of, but still cute. That would be me for sure.
Genius. Rory, who would you be?
I'd be, let's go with Rick from Rick and Morty, because very scientific with SEO.
Brilliant, wonderful. That fits you down to a T, except you're much more good looking than he is. Craig, who would you pick?
Well, I'm going to be better looking than the person I'm going to pick, but me and Nick will remember this story. We were in Portugal, and it's not quite a buyer persona, but we both pretended to be Jerry White on his Tinder. messaging women while we're all sitting at the bar drunk. And
It's true.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. And he actually got some dates from it, I think, or some replies.
We did great. We swiped everyone, and he got some dates. He did really well.
Yeah, weren't the dates Craig and Nick?
No, definitely not. As much as I like Jerry, I ain't going on a date with him, man. Try to get that guy to buy a beer at the bar's hard enough. So yeah, it would be an expensive date.
Brilliant. Franco's got to leave in a moment, but tell us who you would be as a fictional character, as your own buyer persona.
Keith Richards.
Oh,
He's around
I'll
for
see
a
you
while.
on the yacht.
the guy who's been taking hard drugs for 60 years and can still play the guitar.
He's pickled. That's the magic right there. The man will outlast us all. Great to see everyone.
See you later, Franco. Thanks a lot, man.
Cheers.
Right, Doc, you're the new arrival. So the question of the day was, who would you be as a fictional character for your own buyer persona? Go.
Boy, that's a tricky one. I've been wanting to be Craig Campbell for so long.
Right. I think that might not have been the best choice. I'll let you think about that, and we'll come back to it and ask Catherine, who's had some time to think about it.
I think probably Belle from Beauty and the Beast, because I'm a massive book nerd and always have my nose in a book. So yeah.
Does she read? I thought she just carried roses around and fell in love with wolvy monster people.
The library,
No.
Jason. The library.
Oh, good point. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Yes. Oh,
Sold out the books.
Yeah.
right. Okay. Nick, who would you be?
Oh, I think I'd be Columbo. Pizza Fork in Columbo. That's probably for the older people here.
Can you do the leaving the room and then coming back with the question?
Yeah, that one just, they just don't see me coming, really. So that's the way you need to be. Getting to totally underestimate you the whole time. You'll do brilliantly in your career.
Brilliant stuff. Welcome, Simon Cox, who has a view from his window, which is a race course where the horses run by, and I have seen it, and it's absolutely the most wonderful place in the entire universe, Simon.
Well, it's nice.
Understatement.
It's the understatement of the year from Simon Cox.
There are deer bounding around all over the place, and birds of prey and everything. So it's and horses occasionally. So it's very nice.
Brilliant stuff. So, Doc, have you come up with a better persona you would be?
What do you mean better?
I think better than Craig. I like. That's a bit,
I do
loaded.
Craig's like, it doesn't get any better.
That's
this
a bit
is
of
the cream of
Terrible,
the crop.
Doc. You must think something better than that. Anything.
Yeah, okay. I've put my foot in it, and I shall take.
I'll stick with that one, Jason.
Twice.
Yeah, I apologize, Craig and Doc. I completely messed that one up. This is a bit like letting machine learning loose and letting it just do what it feels like doing, and it's just going to get it wrong all the time.
Microsoft's AI.
So, Anton, you're the guy. Who would you be as a fictional character for your own persona on live stream, webinar, episodes, and events?
Could it be Dr. Watson?
Ooh, Dr. Watson, the intelligent one. Oh, isn't he also the one who has the gun?
Yeah, I don't have a gun. No guns.
I'm relieved. Go on, Simon. You can finish off this round of who would you be as a fictional character for your buyer persona?
Koala.
A koala?
No, koala.
Oh, my wife.
You forgot your wife's name.
Koala's a fictional character. It's not your wife. It just has a voice.
I am very so. Yes, very, very true. Yes,
Would I be your wife?
I wouldn't. Just to explain, I was in a cartoon. I was a blue dog called Boo-Wah, and my wife was a yellow koala called Koala. Boo-Wah was this kind and gentle, intelligent, delightfully comforting big brother, and Koala was a slightly annoying child who was trying to understand the world. And Boo-Wah's role in the cartoon was to explain the world to Koala. And now it makes sense.
Jason, I'm
still
going to need
confused.
like your career journey. I'm going to need like a detailed timeline of your career journey because I'm blown away by the 3 I know about so far. So
It's very easy. You have to call me,
okay,
and I'll book him on your podcast, and he will tell you everything.
And then some.
And then some. Love it.
Yeah, no. I never shut up if you let me start talking. Craig?
Yes, absolutely
It
true.
doesn't.
It's why we like you.
Ooh, or not. Anyway, that was delightful. We've done an hour and 4 minutes of. It was 45 minutes of serious stuff and 20 minutes of surprise guests for Anton's 500th webinar.
Yes, see
It's
what we
unusual. We usually get asked questions.
Anton.
Yeah, see what we can do on 1,000 ones. So probably the screen will be bigger, so we need a bigger screen.
Yeah.
Very
Wonderful. Cool. Yeah, no, I think we should have had a song ready for him, and if I'd known about this, I would have prepared a song and had a group rehearsal. But congratulations, Anton, and I think kind of we can. Oh, Nathan's here. Sorry, excuse me, Doc.
I think he's nervous in case you actually. I thought you were going to lead into a song there.
Oh, I can do a song. It's the 500th webinar for Anton Schulke. SEMrush have given him 300, and they are the best webinars in the world.
Jingle on the fly.
That's free jazz.
Well, I think I have a problem with my sound card here.
Right,
that's not a problem with the sound card, Doc.
It was just a crap song, brilliant, yeah.
It's coming through very distorted, Nick.
Well, I was absolutely brilliant. I would say that Anton should be the one to say thank you and goodbye to everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you all you and everyone who was watching. Brilliant webinar, which I ruined today. So sorry about that, but couldn't help. Couldn't help it. And thank you, guys. Thank you, Catherine. I'll do it exactly as on my screen. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Jason, Adrian, Rory, Simon, Doc, Nick, Craig, and everyone else. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Congratulations, Anton. Yeah.
Bye. Wonderful.
Bye-bye.